this. I have to react to this.
I rest my case. I have nothing else to say. I feel like I don't need to say anything else. Like, listen, again, here's the thing. This game mode of restoring the temple is something I would enjoy. I would enjoy this. I enjoy this type of stuff. Just not when I'm trying to do the main story. Okay.
True.
I'm done.
You're clearly not done. Speak your shit. You got 7 minutes. Speak your shit.
Sorry, guys. I actually crashed out. Guys, I have been streaming this story. I have been streaming 2.0 for 4 hours. I feel like I've learned nothing about the new region, okay? Here's the thing. I love Zenless Zone Zero. I have been loyal to this game for the past year. I've been really looking forward to 2.0. I love Yunque Summit. I think that they have been really interesting so far.
Yep.
I have been super interested in what's going to happen in the future of the story. This was not it. Zenless Zone Zero team, listen. You guys, most of the time, you hit, okay? Sure, you have some small misses here and there.
But we overlooked them.
For me, this was the biggest miss that they have had so far. I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised, though, because I feel like for the most part, the Zenless team has been pretty good at kind of evaluating what would be like a good player experience with their patches and updates. But I don't know. I'm a little bit shocked, actually. at what their decision making was here. Actually, no, I know their decision making. I said it just now. Their decision making was that they wanted to make it so that everyone who's joining the game and coming back to Zenless would be able to know everything, right? Everything we just experienced, is a pretty good reintroduction to the game for sure.
Meanwhile, Josh, just at 8.5 hours, I'm fucking smiling, like, man.
But
okay, let's go back to the OG video.
Hello, welcome in. This is a very, very impromptu video that I am recording. I honestly don't know if I'm going to post it or not. I mean, clearly, if you guys are seeing it, then I decided to post it. But why am I here to talk to you guys? I just wanted to express, if you guys are watching this video, then you might have seen my previous video, which is my 2.0 first half of the story playthrough, and might have some opinions about it. But either way, for context is I crashed out a little bit. I crashed out a little bit on stream earlier, and also in that video. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to express that I am sorry that my reaction might not have been as, exciting and positive as I normally try to be when I do play through stories, but I just couldn't. I'm sorry.
I mean, when you're 3 hours into something and you expect a certain level of progression, and then it turns out to be just like something so sideways from going straight, it definitely wears on the mental. A lot of people have this perception about going into that quest and being like, okay, we're covering this in the first section, we're covering this in Act 2, and we're covering this in Act 3, so we can set ourselves up for whatever comes in 2.1 and onward, right? People have a perception, and it's very easy to kind of follow the dots when it comes to creating a story and creating an experience surrounding said story. So valid where Age and many people are coming from, and I know a lot of people are going to have their eyes on Zenless Zone Zero and be like, oh my god, this story was absolute trash. The story experience in itself, from the entirety of that quest, again, it was around 6 hours. The story was only like 2.5 hours, maybe 3.5, right? As live, I'll message him later. And then you had 2 hours of tutorial. I literally counted, right, chat? I literally counted. I was like, I knew we were getting tutorial for the first like section of it, so I made it a point to count. For me, and clicking through it and like, having a modicum level of like care to it, I spent 2 hours. H spent 3 hours, which is again 50% longer. And if you don't know the direction of where the story is, where I did, you're going to be in position where you're confused as all hell, and your experience is just going to be so much more negative because you don't understand where you're going. And that's a huge thing to it. And if the player doesn't know where they're being dragged around left, right, and center, you know, they're rightfully going to be very confused and frustrated why they're being dragged around to this. Even though Age already says like, yes, I understand that this is a part of the whole experience, that we will be building upon this temple moving forward from 2.0, 2.1 onward. But why did they have to include it within the story itself? It's very valid.
It was my honest reaction. I did not have that much fun playing the first half of Zenless Zone Zero 2.0. And
100% valid.
So
man.
I debated whether or not I should post that reaction at all, the playthrough, because I feel like it's not very good. Because, you know, I had some fun. I had some fun, but nearing the latter half of it, I do think I was starting to have a lot less fun. But I decided that I do.
And that was only part one, chat. The matter of fact is that that was part one. So you cut it off there, bro. Of course, the experience is going to look really, really bad perception wise. Right. And I'm sure Age didn't necessarily want it to come off that way. But understandably, if you cut it off there where Age was, holy cow, does the story look absolute trash? Because they really didn't even go through the story. They were still at the tail end of the tutorial for the temple, which is insane. Right. They give you a little bit of the introductory stuff at the beginning. And then that whole like 2-hour section is purely just a tutorial. But obviously, she didn't have that hindsight. So when I went through my story, I was like, I told you guys, chat, I was like, okay, we're going to start off slow. We're going to enjoy the beginning of the story. And then we're going to fucking, we're going to bum rush through the entirety of the tutorial. I told you guys, we were going to do that. You guys saw me. I was literally click simulator through that whole tutorial section to try to get through it as fast as possible while still somewhat paying attention so I could learn all the stuff I needed to. And then also I turned my brain off because I knew that it was in a section where I needed to pay attention to, and I can turn back on when we got back to the story.
I owe it to you guys as my audience who watches me about my feelings and to show not just the good parts of, you know, the stories that I play, but also my own personal, you know, feelings whenever I do feel like the story is not as fun. So yeah, that's why I did post it regardless.
Thanks, Cosmo. I appreciate it, bro.
It probably upset. I'm sure it upset a lot of people, but you know, it's fine. It's fine. And yeah.
And here's the thing. The Age doesn't have to acknowledge this, but I'm very happy that she understands that her as an influence on the community, because, you know, however much she downplays it, Age is a really big influence in the Zenless Zone Zero space. When it comes to Let's Play content, people enjoy watching her play the game. People enjoy watching her, enjoy watching her react and good and yell and scream. She has an influence over a ton of people within the community plus. So when it comes to her reaction, and if you have a negative reaction, that's going to beget more negativity in the space. And that's just the matter of fact, right? And I'm not saying that she's wrong for that, because that's not necessarily her issue. But at the same token, she understands that her voice and her reaction and her content has weight, which is something that not a lot of people in this industry understand. And that's why she's addressing it.
Anyways, I played through the first half of the Zenless Zone Zero 2.0 story, and I went into it really, really excited because I've been super looking forward to Zenless Zone Zero's newest. You know, if you've seen my content, seen my channel, as I really, really enjoy Zenless Zone Zero. It's one of my favorite games. Yeah, I was looking forward to the story. I think the new map looks really cool. The new characters are really cool. Jufufu stole my heart. And Jshoea also has been super, super amazing, both in her lore, backstory from her marketing, and also, you know, in the main story so far. And yeah, the story it's
someone's already weaponizing her reaction as soon as she posted it, and we all know who it is. Wait, did he actually? Already? Yeah, he did. Bro was like, I need my paycheck, bro. Holy. Was it like just now? My ZZZ hate is tingling. I haven't even let her cook, to be honest. Let's keep listening on to Age.
Itself is also pretty interesting. My only gripe is that I wish I, you know, got to experience more of that in the first half. And I feel like after playing the first half of the story, I spent the past 4 hours, and I feel like I honestly have not progressed like at all. At all in the main story.
No, you really haven't. I'm not saying that Zenless Zone Zero is right, but that was what was intended, right? And I said this during the Zenless Zone Zero 2.0 playthrough. this 2.0 story is going to be a stepping stone in a very long narrative of 2.x.
And that is mostly due to the fact that the first half of the story, in my opinion, is just tutorial simulator.
It's not Age's fault. It's not Age's fault.
You know,
no.
they do kind of like, they sprinkle in a little bit of the lore and setup here and there. And obviously we get to interact with the characters. Like those parts are fun. Those parts were interesting, you know, getting to be introduced to the new cast, the Yunkui Summit, going to the temple and stuff. But they forced us to go through the town. They forced us to talk to a bunch of the new storekeepers who we already kind of know what their role is. They also forced us to set up, you know, the HDD and shit with EOS, not EOS, with the 20. And then they also, you know, taught us a bunch of new battle mechanics, which is fine. I'm fine with the battle mechanics, but I just feel like there was just so much stuff. And then they also made us sit through another tutorial after all of those tutorials with the new game mode, which is an idle game mode for I guess refurbishing the temple, which on its own, the game mode itself is something that I actually would really enjoy. Okay, I think I'm gonna have a great time playing that game mode later when I'm not forced to play it and learn about it in the middle of the main story. So yeah, and then after that, they also forced us to do a commission for that temple game mode.
Yep.
That was also really unrelated.
That took
to the
like
main
5-10
story.
minutes.
Anyways, my point is, I went a little bit crazy. I honestly am still feeling a little bit crazy, which is why I decided that once we finished all the tutorial stuff, which we currently have finished, chat told me that we have finished all the tutorial things, and the next part of the story is just going to be mostly plot, okay? So I am really looking forward to that. I decided to cut myself off for the evening. And
me going through the story in its entirety made the tutorial section feel a lot smaller because it flowed into the story that I needed to do. Not obviously it was still a road bump. Obviously I still felt the, you know, the fucking yoink to the side. But like me going through starting from 0 to 100%, I didn't feel it that much. When you slice the pie like that, holy cow. That first half, like you don't know where the hell you're going, right? 100%, because they connect a few things within the second half, or according to Age's timeline here, the second half of what she has still to do. It kind of justifies things a little bit more. Not to say that they should put the Suibian temple minigame, you know, temple stuff, whatever, yada, yada, yada. They should have put it in there. No, I completely agree. But to play all the way through, it just made more sense. They only wanted to stop there. So arguably you should have just cut down the story, just to include the story segments. And then the story would have only been like just under 3 hours, maybe. Arguably 3+ hours, because they still should add the tutorial content to exploration. The Suibian temple portion definitely taken an hour plus. And I use the metaphor of a road bump. It definitely halted progress a lot. With Age, and along with many other players, understandably left a huge impression of confusion and frustration.
like I said, I am still looking forward to the story. I have always been. So
yeah, at the end of the day, all she's saying is like, we didn't get to the story. So when I get to the story, I'll be happy.
I cannot wait to do that on Monday when I'll be able to actually experience the plot. The plot, and yeah. I understand why the Zenless team probably did this and did all of these extra tutorial things, because again, 2.0 is a soft launch for the new players, and you know, they probably
I'll take a look at it,
a lot of people who are coming back
as long as you have the timestamp, I'm good.
Not remember
I'll watch it.
a lot of the different mechanics and stuff. So yeah, totally fine. Anyways,
and Age is someone who also consumes the trailer content, consumes lore content, yada yada yada. So she is relatively well informed, to the point where a lot of the lore introductory stuff is already known knowledge to her. So when, or if, or, you know, whatever, yada, yada, when they introduce her, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense, right? You know about the Qingming sword, you know about the history, about tops, the government implantation, as well as the overhauling of the whole economy because of tops and porcelain, yada, yada, yada. She knows all that. So it's like all that history kind of gets lost and it loses value. So when it comes to the introduction, she's like, okay, let's just get through this. And then you wind up in a fucking, you know, temple build simulator. And you're like, okay, what am I doing?
Should have been optional. I will not rant about that, but yeah, this is probably a mess of a video. I'm so sorry. If I did end up posting this, I'm for a few days, for 2 days. I'll be back on Monday, where we're gonna
That's, oh, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. It should have been back to back. It's kind of like sitting on like a cliffhanger for 2 days, but a really shitty cliffhanger because you don't know that you're hanging off of a cliff or you're being by a rope, you know? Yikes, man. So she's doing the 2.0 story to in 2 days because she did the part 1 yesterday. That's not a great way to start the weekend.
Yeah, so hopefully you guys can still look forward to that. Sorry again for being a little bit
Plus, she's gonna hear about Saints commentary, which is so unfortunate.
In my previous video with the playthrough, but I'm not sorry about the fact that it happened. Okay, I am sorry that the
hey, stand on your shit. Yeah,
reaction wasn't, you know, as probably happy for you guys to enjoy as normal. I am sorry about that, but I am not sorry about expressing my feelings, my honest feelings, and yeah, I'm sorry. I can't lie. I can't pretend like I enjoy something that I didn't enjoy. So hopefully you guys can understand. And I will be back on Monday with the second part of the 2.0 Zenless story, and hopefully it'll be really lit. I mean, I have heard
all right, and then she goes like, oh yeah, I've heard it's gonna be good. Hopefully you guys will be excited to watch me play it. So that's good.
She is a literal ZZZ Andy. You can look from the history of her channel. She has been like one of the biggest fans of this game for the longest fucking time. Like straight up. Like she was uploading content about this game when it was doing awfully in terms of like metrics, YouTube, all of that. She's been with this game since like version 1.2, 1.3. And of course, now that it's come back a little bit for 2.0, this is when analytics are at the highest part that the game has ever been.
Yep.
The analytics are the best they've ever been. Now she's crashing out about it. So I feel like that has to tell you something about the quality of the story, or really.
No, it's not about the quality of the story. The quality of the story is still pretty peak. I will admit, the story was pretty peak. I'm very happy about the way that the story set itself up and the cliffhangers that they left us on. I'm very happy at the end of the day.
We will be playing it ourselves at some point.
At some point, he just likes the game, right? At some point, chat, you gotta be like he likes the game, right? He streams the game. He plays the game. He talks about the game. At some point, you gotta say that the hate is actually love. You know what they say, chat? Hate and love are two sides of the same coin or whatever. He's just using it to farm views, but it's just funny that you can farm views in other ways. Like I mentioned before, chat. Like, why aren't these drama creators talking about not loving G-Space, not Pocket? Why aren't they talking about Heavens Burns Red? Why aren't they talking about Wizardly Variants Daphne and how they're stagnating in revenue? Why aren't they talking about Bang Dreams Girl Band Party and that their actual latest release actually lost them money because the release came out with like worse units, or the story to Bang Dream Girls Band Party is bad? It's because Zenless Zone Zero is pretty relevant. And not to say it's the biggest thing. I'm not deluded to say that it's the biggest gacha game ever. By no means. At some point, you know, he's literally who's the guy? Who's the guy from Spider-Man? No. You got no. Flash. You guys not know Flash? No. This guy. The guy who hated Spider-Man, who hated Peter Parker, and then turns around, he actually kind of likes him. Flash Thompson. He's the Flash Thompson of the gacha community, bro.
Why does there have to be a soft relaunch every 3 updates? You had the launch in 1.0, you got 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and then a soft relaunch in 1.4. Then you got 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, and another relaunch in 2.0.
God forbid games introduce new mechanics. God forbid games fix so many things about the game and the overall experience that it feels like a new game. God forbid there's an anniversary that comes around once a year that they really want to hype up. God forbid.
What is wrong with the game?
Okay, that is a good point though. I will admit. That is, you know what? That does make sense in the fact that like, if there wasn't anything wrong with the game, why would they need to fix things? But here's the thing. If they didn't fix it, it would become a situation where Genshin's first year 5-star agents and first year 4-star agents are getting shat on. Arguable, you know, you can say that Bennett was overtuned, Shincho was overtuned, Fischl overtuned, Sucrose overtuned. We've been knowing that they were overtuned and they can't go back and undertune them to the behest of the community. Those characters were way overtuned, right? They are better and more impactful as those 4 and, you know, some other characters too, than almost all of the 1.0 and potentially even some 2.0 characters in Genshin, which is crazy to say. But to the point, what was needed to be fixed? There were a couple things that needed to be addressed, not necessarily fixed, in order to set us up for a system that generated positive reception moving forward. I think everyone is really happy that they are addressing Ellen Joe first year around, not 3-4 years around. I'm glad that they finally addressed the map and the UI issues that were ailing some players, and now that they set up this grid system, which is a lot easier to use. You just have to get used to it. It's a lot easier to use, trust me, because you know I've had the luxury of having the C server. I now like know where everything is, so I just go click click click, right? So once you get used to it, give it a couple sessions and your eyes will adjust very easily. It's not necessarily all problems are negative. Understandably, coming from a creator's perspective, a lot of things can be perceived as black and white. So when it comes to this particular creator, a lot of his things turn out to be black, not white, or not gray. Not necessarily I'm defending a stance, but again, you guys know I talk about conversations, I talk about points, I talk about arguments. So when it comes to the point about why did we need a second soft relaunch? It's because there were things that they still needed to address. And the game is so much more healthy. And when all things are said and done, when you finish the content, and now that I finished most, like 80% of the content, I find Zenless Zone Zero to be in a very healthy place. The exploration was fun. When I finished the story, overall, my experience was an 8.5. I thought it was great. But again, that's because I had the foresight of mindlessly skipping through and not necessarily considering the tutorial 1.5 hour, 2 hour section to be a part of the holistic experience. So I kind of underplayed a little bit. So maybe that's to my detriment because I had the foresight. Because this is literally just, if you were to consider this a marathon, this is literally mile 1, mile 2, dead ass. It is mile 1, mile 2. We aren't 4, 5, 6 miles in. We're in mile 1 and mile 2. And understandably, a lot of people, especially in the, in the outside circle of Zenless Zone Zero, are going to perceive these comments as the story is bad. Because the whole thing is the story good or is the story bad? That's the narrative. And if they hear this, they're going to think the story is bad. No, the story is actually great. And the setup is great. The introductions are great. I love the characters. The characters are so lovable. Is the experience great? There are a few bumps in the road, but in overall now evaluating the experience, people are going to take advantage of Age's comments because Age only has a small perception of the greater pie, which is still a part of the pie, don't get me wrong, but now gets overblown because of this singular argument. But I think it's important that she address it because if people see her reaction to it, there will be obviously negative reaction. Saying reacting to Age is unexpected, bro. His hate was tingling. It's like, oh my God, I sense it. My Peter tingle for Zenless Zone Zero rage baiting. Still valid, but bad faith actors will do their thing. No, exactly. That's exactly what it is. I do hope that people actually watch Age's full video. Saint goes to the full video, so kudos to them. But understand that this is an argument about a singular section, not necessarily the whole story. Her experience of the first portion of the introductory part of the story quest with the tutorial of the temple, that sucked. But she's not talking about the story as a whole. She's not talking about 2.0 as a whole. She's talking about the introduction of the tutorial segment of the minigame. I'm the last Hoyo shill, chat. I am the last Zenless Zone Zero shill. Even the great Age KK has lost her way. I am the final vanguard. I am the last gooner. You're forgetting EO? Honestly, EO left 10 years ago. Ever since he left for DreamCon. I haven't heard him since. Because that motherfucker won't hang out with me. Love you, EO. I know you're busy. He won't hang out with the pastor. What's up with that? What's up? I am the last gooner. Genuinely, I had a great experience. I have literally came off of it just now, so I literally have my initial reaction, and overall playing through it, I thought it was great. Understandably, when you start to take sections out and be like, put them under a microscope, and also come into the conversation already wanting to create a negative narrative around it, it's going to generate that negative buzz. So I just hope that people play through the story, meet the characters, get introduced to the storyline, the plot line, have fun, understand the different new mechanics that are in play within this new region, because this is literally just the start, and we have so much more content to go through and accomplish and learn about. I'm so surprised that people are seeing this as a negative thing when this is the springboard to something so much greater. That is the 2.x experience. And not to say that I'm overly positive about it, that I think they're gods and that there's nothing wrong with it, but I think a lot of the conversations are overblown. But that's just me. All right. I don't think anybody's going to react to me reacting to other people reacting to other people, but hey, it is what it is, man. Like and subscribe.